how did you make that transition to your first multifamily deal? And I don't know if maybe that's the first, if y'all have the same first deal or what. But ultimately making that step, closing on your first deal, what did that look like? How'd that happen?
He's got a great story on his almost first deal. So
All right, almost first deal. Let's do it.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, no, I made the transition to multifamily in 2019. And for anybody that's familiar with multifamily, you have to have three things: experience, net worth, and liquidity. Well, I had none, right? I had nothing substantial of either of that to build a multifamily business on. So I started from nothing. And just like everybody else, I started, immersing myself in education, podcasts, books, and going to different local meetups and just trying to figure out a path, a direction. And I started discovering who the industry influences were and following the framework about, how to build out your network, how to build out your database, building relationships, and then what are the other key components in your business that you need to be successful in multifamily. And through that, I actually joined a much smaller mentorship program, kind of early 2019. And I met a connection there, a friend who I'm still friends with today, but a connection there, a guy based out of Dallas, and go getter, just had this fiery spirit like I did, was very motivated, and we started building a relationship. And through just continued conversation, it was discovered that he actually was working on a deal. They were under LOI, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you're looking to get started. Do you want to come in and help raise some equity for this deal? And we can all benefit together." And I was gung ho. I was like, "Yes, absolutely, sign me up." And it was a small commit, like $300,000 is what they needed me to bring, right? And so
Which
I started.
laughable now, in the deals you are doing.
It is, and what's even more laughable now is, to make that long story very short, is I ended up converting $0 out of my commit on that raise. And it was the most devastating moment for me. I was like, oh my God, like I can't do this business. I'm never going to be successful. Like nobody's going to want to work with me if I share this story. And it was just really one of those low points very early on in the business. But once I got past that and, reflected on what had went wrong or what did I miss, it was very evident to me that I still had so much more growth to go, so much more learning to do. And it was in hindsight, it was one of the best experiences I ever could experience, because, from there, it really got me disciplined and honed in on just the exact things that we needed to put in place to really make this a scalable business. And then a coincidental timing, again, met John, Brian, and Brian coming into, we were all following that same framework, that same vision, that same step. And so it was really just a plug and play. We were all following the same influencers. And now you fast forward, we spent about, Brian, I don't know, I'd say almost 18 months, 14, 18 months in total before getting into that first opportunity where we co-sponsored with another experienced operator, and we raised equity for that. And we brought $1.3 million to that deal on our first raise. And it was a 506c raise, but it was all of that work in between that first opportunity in 2019 to that deal, and putting in this infrastructure in place that really allowed us to maximize that opportunity on that first one. So
yeah, people usually, I mean, they see the end result. They don't see the foundation laid prior to that. On the 300,000, reflecting back on that, knowing what you know now, what do you think went wrong and not able to convert? I mean, there's always folks that say, "Hey, I'm good," and then circumstances, or they just change their mind. But what do you think really went wrong on why you weren't able to convert the 300,000?
It first off started with my own fundamental education. I just flat out was lacking enough fundamental education to be able to speak in an articulate manner that would draw in investors to a deal. And just like most investors, I started out with my very close network, my friends and that I knew that were interested in real estate, but they never had experience investing in real estate, and particularly in a syndication. And here it is I was trying to educate on the fly, and I was trying to present an opportunity to these potential investors that they had no idea what they were even looking at. And I couldn't articulate it because I didn't have the experience. Yeah. I didn't have the knowledge. And so in hindsight, number one, it boiled down to a lack of education. And number two, it boiled down to a lack of experience, both on my end and the investors' end.
Yeah.
And so that really taught me the importance of education is what it is. Everybody knows you need to continue your education, but really taught me the importance of really getting more specific about and targeted and intentful about who your investor avatar is.